The rain fell hard on the small town of Harborview that night. Water rushed through the streets as the river spilled over its banks. Most people had already left their homes for safety. The Mason family home stood on a hill near the edge of town. It was usually safe from floods, but not this time. Katie Mason was 12 years old with curly brown hair and bright green eyes. She loved looking at the stars and learning about sea creatures. Her room was full of books about space and the ocean. Katie was helping her parents pack important things before they left their house. Her father Jack worked as a boat mechanic, and her mother Susan taught at the local school. "Katie, we need to go now," her father called from downstairs. "The water is rising too fast." "There's just one more minute," Katie answered. She was trying to save her telescope and the photo album from her shelf. Susan appeared in the doorway. "Your father and Mrs. Winters need help getting her medicine. We have to go help, but we'll be right back. Stay upstairs and keep packing. The water shouldn't reach the second floor." Katie nodded and continued putting her things in a plastic bin. She heard her parents leave. The rain beat against her window as the wind howled. A loud crash from downstairs made Katie jump. She put down the photo album and went to see what had happened. Water was already flowing into the first floor of their house. It had broken through the back door and was quickly filling the rooms. Another crash came from below. Katie realized it was coming from the basement. Her father's workshop was down there with all his tools. Katie knew she should stay upstairs, but she was worried about her father's things. She carefully went down the stairs, holding the railing tight. The water was up to her ankles by the time she reached the bottom step. The basement door was shaking as if something was hitting it from the other side. The door burst open and water rushed out. Katie jumped onto the kitchen counter to avoid being knocked down. When she looked at the basement doorway, she froze. Something was moving in the water. At first, Katie thought it was a large fish or maybe an alligator that had been carried in by the flood. But as it moved into the light, she saw it wasn't any animal she knew. It looked like a dragon from her storybooks, but different. Its body was long like a snake, with a larger front section and a tapered tail. Instead of scales, its skin glowed with blue and green lights that pulsed in patterns. Parts of it looked like metal, with what seemed like small lights blinking on and off. One of its wing-like limbs was stuck under a fallen metal shelf from her father's workshop. The creature thrashed in the water, trying to free itself. Its eyes were large and black, reflecting the kitchen light like mirrors. When it saw Katie, it stopped moving for a moment. Katie felt like it was studying her. Katie should have been scared. She should have run upstairs and waited for her parents. But something about the creature's eyes made her feel like it was afraid, not dangerous. "Are you stuck?" Katie asked, not expecting an answer. The creature made a soft humming sound and moved its free limb toward her. Katie saw that the metal shelf had fallen across what looked like a wing or fin made of both flesh and something like metal. The water was rising faster now. Katie knew she had to act quickly. She climbed down from the counter, the water now up to her knees. She waded toward her father's toolbox that had floated nearby. "I'm going to help you," she said to the creature, grabbing a crowbar from the box. The creature watched her as she moved closer. Katie was scared, but she kept going. When she reached the fallen shelf, she could see that it had bent around the creature's wing-like part. She pushed the crowbar under the edge of the shelf and pushed down hard. The shelf moved a little, but not enough. The creature made a chirping sound that somehow Katie knew meant pain. She tried again, pushing with all her strength. The water was up to her waist now, making it hard to keep her balance. "Come on," Katie said through gritted teeth as she pushed again. This time, the shelf moved enough for the creature to pull its wing free. It swam away from the shelf, circling around Katie in the rising water. Its movements became smoother as it tested its injured limb. Katie dropped the crowbar and backed away, suddenly aware of how strange and potentially dangerous the situation was. But the creature didn't attack. Instead, it moved closer and lowered its head to her level. The black eyes stared into hers, and Katie felt a strange connection. As if the creature was trying to say something without words, a bright light flashed outside, followed by voices calling her name. The rescue team had arrived with flashlights and boats. "Katie, are you in there?" A man's voice called. The creature's head snapped toward the sound. It looked back at Katie one more time, then dove under the water and disappeared through the broken back door, heading toward the flooded river beyond. "I'm here," Katie called back, wading toward the front door. When the rescue workers found her, they were shocked. She had stayed in the house with the water so high. They quickly got her into a boat and took her to the shelter where her worried parents were waiting. "What were you thinking?" her mother cried, hugging her tight. "Why didn't you stay upstairs?" Katie tried to explain about the strange creature, but the adults exchanged looks over her head. "It was real," Katie insisted. "It was like a dragon, but with lights and metal parts. I helped it get unstuck from Dad's shelf." Her father put his hand on her forehead. "You're cold and tired, Katie. Sometimes when we're scared, our minds can play tricks on us." In the days that followed, Katie told her story to anyone who would listen. Some kids at the shelter laughed at her. Adults smiled kindly but clearly. Didn't believe her. Even her parents gently suggested that maybe she had seen a large fish or debris in the water and her imagination had done the rest. Only, Katie knew what she had seen. At night in the shelter, she drew pictures of the creature. In her notebook, trying to capture the pattern of lights on its body and the strange mix of animal and machine parts. She knew no one believed her, but she would never forget those eyes looking into hers. Or the feeling that the creature had been thanking her before it swam away. Little did Katie know that this encounter would change her life forever, and that the creature she saved would one day return. 10 years passed since the Great Flood in Harborview. Katie Mason was now 22 years old and worked as a scientist at the North American Space Agency. She had grown taller, and her curly brown hair was cut short for easy care. Her green eyes still held the same curiosity they had when she was 12. Katie sat at her desk looking at data from space telescopes. Her job was to search for signs of life on other planets. While other scientists looked for simple life like bacteria, Katie searched for signs of advanced beings. Most of her coworkers thought this was a waste of time, but Katie knew better. She never forgot the strange creature she had rescued during the flood. Over the years, she had almost convinced herself it was just her imagination, as everyone had told her. Almost, but not quite. The memory of those intelligent eyes looking into hers stayed with her. The way the creature's body had both living and machine-like parts haunted her dreams. "Dr. Mason, can I see you in my office?" Her boss, Dr. Allen, stood at her door. Katie followed him to his office and sat down across from his desk. Dr. Allen was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had given Katie her job when no one else would. "Your latest report is interesting," Dr. Allen said, holding up the papers Katie had written. "This new way of looking for signals is creative, but the board thinks it's too unusual." Katie sighed. "They always think my ideas are too unusual. But if we only look for life that's like Earth life, we might miss something important." Dr. Allen smiled. "That's why I hired you. You think differently? But the board controls our money, and they want you to focus on the Mars project like everyone else." Katie nodded, but she felt disappointed. The Mars project was just looking for tiny bacteria and soil samples. Important work, yes, but not what she truly wanted to study. That night, Katie sat on the roof of her apartment building with her telescope. It was much bigger and better than the one she had as a child. She pointed it at distant stars, wondering if any of them had planets with beings like the one she had met. Katie had never told anyone at work about her childhood experience. She knew they would think she was crazy. Instead, she kept a private notebook filled with drawings and notes about the creature. Over the years, her drawings had become more detailed as she studied biology and engineering. She now understood that what she had seen was likely a blend of living tissue and advanced technology. The next day at work, Katie secretly used the lab's powerful computers to run her own search program. It looked for energy patterns that might come from technology much more advanced than human tech. Most scientists looked for radio signals, but Katie thought truly advanced beings might use something else, like quantum signals or even methods humans hadn't discovered yet. her program detected something strange near Saturn. A small energy spike that didn't match any known natural pattern. It lasted just a few seconds before disappearing. Katie saved the data but told no one. It was probably nothing, she told herself, just a glitch in the system. Weeks passed and Katie kept working on the Mars project during the day while running her secret searches at night. The strange energy spikes near Saturn continued to appear, becoming more frequent. Katie mapped them and noticed they were moving, following a path toward Earth. One night, as Katie looked through her telescope on the roof, she saw something that made her heart beat faster. A small light that wasn't a star moved across the sky. It was too fast for a plane and too slow for a shooting star. She quickly set up her camera to record it. The next morning, Katie arrived at work to find everyone in a state of excitement. The main room was filled with scientists looking at the big screen on the wall. "What's happening?" Katie asked a coworker named Gary. "The deep space radar picked up something big entering our solar system," Gary said, his eyes wide. "Multiple objects moving together. They're saying it might be asteroids, but the pattern is too regular." Katie pushed her way to the front of the room. On the screen was a radar image showing several large objects moving in formation. They were still near Saturn, but were clearly heading toward Earth. Dr. Allen called an emergency meeting of all department heads. Katie wasn't invited, but she listened outside the door. "The objects will reach Earth orbit in approximately 3 days, she heard Dr. Allen say. "Their movement suggests intelligent control. We may be facing the first contact with an alien species." Katie's hands started to shake. Could it be related to the creature she had saved? It seemed impossible after all these years, but the timing of the energy spikes she had detected matched the object's appearance. That evening, news reports worldwide announced the approaching objects. Some people panicked while others were excited. Military forces went on high alert. Religious leaders called for calm and prayer. Katie sat alone in her apartment, staring at her childhood drawings of the dragon-like being. If these visitors were somehow connected to her encounter, what did they want? Were they coming in peace, or was it something else? The next day, Katie was called to Dr. Allen's office again. This time, there were 2 men in dark suits waiting. "With him, Dr. Mason, these gentlemen are from Government Intelligence," Dr. Allen said, looking nervous. "They would like to ask you some questions about your research." The taller man stepped forward. "Dr. Mason, our analysts have been reviewing all unusual research related to extraterrestrial life. Your search patterns and theories have come to our attention." Katie swallowed hard. "I'm just doing theoretical work." "Perhaps," a man said. "But your models for detecting advanced technology match some of the signals we're receiving from the approaching vessels." "We need to know everything, about these visitors." Katie took a deep breath. After 10 years of keeping her story secret, it was time to tell someone the truth. She just hoped they would believe her. "It started during the Harborview flood when I was 12 years old," she began. The men leaned forward, listening intently. As Katie finally shared her story about the strange dragon she once rescued from the rising waters, the government men took Katie to a secure building outside the city. The car had dark windows, and Katie could not see where they went. Inside the building, more people in suits waited in a large room with a long table. They asked Katie to sit down and tell her story again. Katie told them about the flood, the strange, dragon-like creature, and how she had helped free it from the fallen shelf. She described its glowing skin and the parts that looked like machine mixed with animal. The people listened without speaking. Some took notes, others watched her face closely. "And you never told anyone about this connection you felt with the creature?" asked a woman with short gray hair. "I told everyone about the creature after the flood," Katie said. "But no one believed me. They said it was my imagination or shock from the flood. After a while, I stopped talking about it." A man at the end of the table pushed a folder toward Katie. "These are your research papers from the last 3 years. You were looking for very specific energy patterns in space." "Why these patterns?" Katie opened the folder and saw her work. "I dreamed about the lights on the creature's body for years. The patterns seemed to mean something. When I learned about energy signatures in space, I realized they might be similar. The people looked at each other. The man with the folder spoke again. The objects approaching Earth are sending signals that match your patterns exactly. We think they are trying to communicate. Katie felt her heart beat faster. Have you answered them? Not yet. We don't know what to say or if it's safe to answer. Then a young man ran into the room. His face was pale. Sir, the alien ships have entered Earth orbit. They've sent a message. It's being broadcast on all frequencies, all devices, worldwide. Everyone in the room pulled out phones and tablets. Katie watched as a message appeared on a large screen on the wall. It was simple text in many languages. We seek Katie Mason of Earth. The room went silent. All eyes turned to Katie. She felt cold and hot at the same time. They know your name, the gray-haired woman said. What else haven't you told us? Nothing, Katie said. The creature and I didn't speak. It couldn't talk. More people entered the room. Some wore military uniforms with many badges and stars. They talked quickly about defense systems and protection plans. Katie sat quietly, trying to understand what was happening. We need to respond to their message, said one of the military men. Tell them Katie Mason is under government protection. No, Katie said suddenly. Everyone looked at her. If they came all this way to find me, there must be a reason. I should meet them. Arguments broke out around the table. Some people thought Katie should meet the aliens. Others thought it was too dangerous. The aliens might want to hurt her or use her to get to Earth. While they argued, Katie looked at her phone. The same message was there. We seek Katie Mason of Earth. But it was another message, just for her phone. The child who freed me has grown. I have returned to honor the debt. Katie showed the message to the others. The arguing stopped. It says it's returning to honor a debt, said the gray-haired woman. It feels like you saved its life, and now it's back to thank you. Or to take. Her, said a military man. We can't trust these beings. For 3 days, the alien ships stayed in orbit. 12 large vessels that human radar could barely understand. They sent no more messages after asking for Katie. World leaders met to discuss what to do. People on Earth were scared, but also curious. News reports showed the ships day and night. Katie stayed in the secure building, watched by guards. Scientists and government officials came to talk to her, asking more questions about the creature and the flood. They brought her childhood drawings and compared them to images of the ships in orbit. The designs were similar. On the 4th day, world leaders made a decision. Katie would meet the aliens at a military base near her old hometown of Harborview. The meeting place would be secure, with soldiers and weapons ready if needed. The aliens agreed to send down only a small ship with a few representatives. Katie rode in a helicopter to the meeting place. Below her, she could see Harborview, rebuilt after the flood. The river was calm now, flowing peacefully between new banks designed to prevent future floods. Her parents had moved away years ago, but the town still felt like home. The military base was surrounded by tanks and soldiers. A large open area had been cleared for the alien ship to land. Katie wore a simple blue dress. Scientists had wanted her to wear a protective suit, but she refused. If the aliens meant harm, a suit wouldn't help. If they came in peace, a suit might seem unfriendly. Are you ready, Dr. Mason? Asked a general standing beside her. Katie nodded. She wasn't sure what to expect, but she felt strangely calm. The creature she had helped had intelligent eyes. It had not hurt her when it could. She believed it had come back for a good reason. A voice spoke through all the radios and phones at once. We are coming down now. Please clear the landing area. Everyone moved back, leaving Katie standing alone in the center of the field. The soldiers raised their weapons. Scientists pointed measuring devices at the sky. Katie looked up and waited. A bright light appeared in the clouds. It grew larger as it came down, taking shape into a ship smaller than the ones in orbit, but still bigger than any human aircraft. It was smooth and curved with no sharp edges. The same blue-green lights Katie remembered from the creature's body pulsed along its sides. The ship landed softly on the ground in front of Katie. No dust or wine came from it. It made no sound. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a doorway opened in the side of the ship, creating a ramp down to the ground. A tall figure appeared in the doorway. It stood much taller than a human, with the same long body Katie remembered. But now it stood upright on two legs, its tail balanced behind it. Its skin still glowed with shifting patterns of light. Parts of its body were clearly mechanical, blended perfectly with the living tissue. The being walked down the ramp, followed by two smaller creatures of similar design. When it reached the bottom, it stopped and looked directly at Katie with large black eyes that reflected the sky. Katie? Mason, it said in a voice that sounded like music and machines together. I am Zorklith. Once you saved me from death. I have returned. Everyone around Katie held their breath as the tall alien stood before her. Soldiers gripped their weapons tighter. Scientists pointed recording devices at the meeting. World leaders watched through video feeds from safe locations far away. Katie looked up at Zorklith, taking in every detail. The creature was about 9 feet tall now, standing on two strong legs. Its long body was covered in the same glowing scales she remembered, but they seemed more organized now, forming complex patterns that shifted and changed. Where she had once seen injured wings, there were now powerful arms with long fingers. Parts of its body were clearly made of some kind of metal that moved as smoothly as the living parts. You remember me? Katie said quietly. Zorklith lowered its head to be closer to her level. I remember a small human child who helped me when I was trapped and injured. You showed no fear. I was afraid, Katie admitted, but you needed help. The alien made a sound like gentle bells. Katie realized it was laughing. Yes, I needed help, and you gave it freely. Among my people, such a debt must be repaid. The two smaller aliens stood quietly behind their leader. They seemed to be watching everything carefully, their own skin. Patterns flashing rapidly as if talking without words. A general stepped forward cautiously. Why have you come to Earth with so many ships? Is this an invasion? Zorklith turned to look at the general. We do not invade. We have come to honor a debt and to offer a gift. The ships in orbit are the honor fleet of the Draconis Collective. They are sent only for the most important ceremonies. Ceremonies? The general asked, still suspicious. Yes, the ceremony of first contact and alliance offering. Zorklith turned back to Katie. Because of you, Katie Mason, we have chosen to offer Earth membership in our alliance of worlds. Murmurs spread through the crowd of humans. This was not what anyone had expected. The military leaders looked confused. The scientists looked excited. Perhaps we could talk somewhere more comfortable, Katie suggested, looking around at all the weapons and nervous faces. This doesn't feel like the right place for such an important conversation, Zorklith agreed. Yes, too many weapons. Too much fear. Will you come to our ship? We can show you things that will help explain. The general stepped forward again. That's not possible. Dr. Mason is under our protection. We can't allow her to enter your vessel alone. Then bring others, Zorklith said simply, but no weapons. After much discussion, it was decided that Katie would enter the alien ship along with 3 scientists and 1 government representative. They would wear communication devices so everyone outside could hear what happened. No weapons would be allowed. Katie led the small group up the ramp into the ship. Inside, the walls glowed with the same patterns as Zorklith's skin. The air felt fresh and slightly warm. There were no sharp edges anywhere, just smooth curves and gentle slopes. Zorklith led them to a round room with a table in the center. The table looked like water frozen in time, clear and blue. The alien touched the table, and images appeared above it, floating in the air. This is my world, HerHFY, Zorklith said, showing them a beautiful planet with 3 moons. And this is the Draconis Collective, 17 worlds across 12 star systems. The images changed to show different planets and the beings that lived on them. Some looked almost like humans. Others were very different, some like plants, some like insects, some like nothing Earth people had ever seen. 15 years ago, by your time, I was a young scout sent to observe Earth, Zorklith explained. My ship was damaged in your planet's atmosphere during the storm. To survive, I had to merge with my ship's emergency systems, creating the form you saw. I was trapped in your dwelling when you found me. Katie watched as an image appeared of her childhood home during the flood. She saw herself as a 12-year-old girl, wading through water to help the trapped creature. How did you record this? She asked, amazed to see her younger self. All scouts carry memory units that record everything, Zorklaith explained. When I returned to my people, this recording was studied carefully. It changed how we viewed humans. The government representative, a woman named Lisa, spoke up. What do you mean it changed how you viewed humans? Zorklaith's patterns shifted to deeper blues. We had been watching Earth for centuries. We saw your wars, your pollution, your treatment of your own planet. Many in the collective believed humans were too violent and self-destructive to join our alliance. Then why change your minds because of one child? Asked one of the scientists. Because of what came after, Zorklaith said. Changing the image again, now they saw Katie growing up, going to school, studying science, looking through telescopes. They saw her research papers and the work she did searching for signs of advanced life. You suspected I was real, Zorklaith said to Katie. You dedicated your life to finding beings like me, not to capture or study us, but to communicate and learn. This showed us that humans have potential beyond what we had seen before. Katie felt tears in her eyes. All those years when no one believed her, when her ideas were dismissed as too strange or unlikely, Zorklaith had been watching, knowing. How did you rise to a position where you could bring a fleet to Earth? Lisa asked, if you were just a young scout before? Zorklaith made the laughing sound again. After my return and recovery, I joined the diplomatic corps. I showed the recording of Katie's help to the Collective Council many times. I argued that humans should be given a chance to join us. As I rose through the ranks, more listened. When I became fleet commander, I finally had the authority to make official contact. And the fleet? Asked one of the scientists. Why so many ships for a first contact? The honor fleet is a tradition among our people, explained Zorklaith. When we invite a new world to join the collective, we send our finest ships as a sign of respect. Each vessel carries representatives from different worlds in our alliance, ready to meet your leaders and begin the process of welcoming Earth. Katie looked at the images floating above the table, showing the 17 worlds of the collective. What would joining your alliance mean for Earth? Shared knowledge, trade, protection, cultural exchange. Each world in the collective maintains its independence but agrees to certain principles: peaceful resolution of conflicts, sustainable use of resources, free exchange of scientific discoveries, and mutual defense. The humans looked at each other, trying to process what this meant. It was bigger than anything they had imagined. I must speak with the leaders of Earth, Zorklaith said. But first, Katie Mason, I wish to thank you personally. Your small hands freed me when you had nothing to gain and everything to lose. That moment changed the destiny of two civilizations. Zorklaith held out a long-fingered hand toward Katie. In it was a small object that glowed like a star. This is for you. A key that will allow you to communicate with any being in the collective. It is the highest honor we can give to a non-member. Katie slowly reached out and took the gift. It felt warm in her hand and seemed to pulse in time with her heartbeat. For a moment, she was 12 years old again, looking into the eyes of a strange creature in her flooded basement. Now that creature was offering humanity the stars. The days that followed were filled with meetings and talks between Earth leaders and the aliens. People from every country came to speak with Zorklaith and the other members of the Draconis Collective. Some were afraid, but most were curious and excited. Katie stayed at the center of it all. She helped the humans understand the aliens and helped the aliens understand human ways. The small glowing object Zorklaith had given her turned out to be a translator that could change any language into any other language. It made talking much easier. World leaders gathered at the United Nations building in New York. Zorklaith and representatives from the other 16 worlds of the collective came to speak with them. Katie sat beside Zorklaith at the big round Table. We offer Earth full membership in the Draconis Collective, Zorklith said to the gathered leaders. This has never happened so quickly before. Usually we watch a world for hundreds of years before inviting them to join. But Katie Mason showed us that humans have great potential for kindness and growth. What would we need to do to join? Asked the leader from India. Accept our basic rules, said a plant-like being from another world. No war between member worlds. Share important scientific discoveries, help protect each other. Take care of your planet, and what would we gain? Asked the leader from Brazil. Knowledge, said Zorklith. We would share our technology for clean energy, medicine, and space travel. Trade between worlds, protection from any threats in space. The human leaders talked among themselves. Some were eager to join. Others were worried about losing Earth's independence or changing too quickly. We need time to think about this, said the leader from the United States. This is a big decision for all people of Earth. We understand, said Zorklith. We will leave a small ship here while you decide. The honor fleet will return to our space as a sign of peace. We do not wish to pressure you. That evening, Katie walked with Zorklith near the river in Harborview where everything had started. The alien moved gracefully despite its large size. People watched from a distance, still amazed to see a real alien walking on Earth. This is where the flood happened, Katie said, pointing to the river. The water came up all the way to those hills. Zorklith looked around. I remember little from that day. I was injured and afraid, but I remember your face clearly. You were so small but so brave, Katie smiled. I was terrified. But something about your eyes made me feel like I needed to help you. In my culture, we believe that true character is shown in moments of crisis, Zorklith said. You showed yours that day. Now I have a question for you, Katie Mason. What is it? If your world joins the collective, we will need an ambassador from Earth, someone who understands both humans and us. Would you accept this role? Katie stopped walking and looked up at the alien. Me? But I'm just a scientist. I don't know anything about being an ambassador. You have been building bridges between our worlds since you were 12, Zorklith said. No human understands us better than you. No human has earned our trust more. The idea was both exciting and scary to Katie. To be Earth's first ambassador to alien worlds would be a huge responsibility. But it would also mean seeing those 17 worlds, learning about all the different beings in the collective, and helping humanity take its place among the stars. I would be honored, Katie said finally. If Earth joins the collective, I will serve as ambassador. Zorklith's skin patterns glowed brighter. This makes me happy. You will visit my homeworld first. I think you will like it there. 3 months passed while Earth's leaders discussed the offer. Scientists worked with the aliens left behind to learn about their technology. Doctors learned about new medicines. Engineers studied the alien ships to understand how they worked. Katie helped wherever she could. She used her translator to help people talk to the aliens. She explained human customs that confused the visitors. She answered endless questions from reporters and regular people about what the aliens were like. Some people were still afraid of the aliens. They held protests and said Earth should stay independent. Others were excited about joining the collective and learning from more advanced worlds. The debate continued in every country. Finally, after much discussion, the leaders of Earth made their decision. They called for a special meeting at the United Nations. Zorklith and the other alien representatives came. The honor fleet returned to orbit around Earth for the occasion. The Secretary General of the United Nations stood before the world. Cameras broadcast her words to every country. After careful consideration and votes from all member nations, Earth has decided to accept the invitation to join the Draconis Collective, she announced. We believe this historic alliance will benefit all people of Earth and open a new chapter in human history. Cheers broke out in the hall. Zorklith's skin patterns danced with bright colors that showed happiness. The other aliens made their own signs of pleasure according to their different customs. We welcome Earth to the collective, Zorklith said formally. May our worlds grow and learn together in peace. Then Zorkleth turned to Katie, who sat nearby. And we accept Dr. Katie Mason as Earth's first ambassador to the collective. Her kindness as a child showed us humanity's heart. Her work as an adult showed us humanity's mind. Together, they make Earth worthy of joining our alliance of worlds. Katie stepped forward as the hall filled with applause. She felt dizzy thinking about how far she had come from that frightened girl in the flood. One small act of kindness had led to this moment, opening the door for all humanity to reach the stars. Later that night, Katie stood on the roof of her old apartment building. She looked up at the stars, knowing that soon she would visit them. The honor fleet shone in the night sky above Earth, their lights forming patterns like those on Zorkleth's skin. Beside her stood Zorkleth, also looking at the stars. "Are you ready for what comes next?" the alien asked. Katie nodded. "I've been, ready since I was 12 years old. I just didn't know it then." In the distance, she could see the river that had flooded her town 15 years ago. What had seemed like a disaster had actually been the beginning of something wonderful. A girl had rescued a dragon in a flood, and years later it had returned, with a fleet to honor her. Now that girl would help lead humanity to the stars. The universe waited, full of new friends, new worlds, and new adventures. And it had all started with a simple act of kindness during a flood so many years ago.